Hi, everyone. Today I'm talking to Scott Nadzan. He is the VP of Product Marketing and Strategic Communications at Panopto. Scott, welcome. Thank you for joining us. Tell us a bit more about yourself, your role, and Panopto.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. Yeah, my name is Scott. I'm in product marketing and communications, but I would say don't let that title fool you. I play a lot of positions on the infield. So most of my job and what I do though is evangelizing our product, making sure that I'm communicating the value of our product and demonstrating how the product adds value inside of a customer organization. So Panopto, and I should mention that is on the higher education side, we're kind of a lecture capture tool that manages all the videos on a campus, and we make sure those videos are viewable to anyone, whether it's students in a learning management system or on a public website or a customizable portal. We also work with corporations, and they're managing meetings, long form video and short form videos to engage their audience. So in the end, again, my job is to make sure that our customers, and, first of all, I understand what they care about really as people and what they need to do every day when they wake up and go to work, and make sure that I can demonstrate what our product does for them and with them, to make their day just a little bit easier.
Yeah, I love that. And I saw a lot of content around Eli. Is that a new part of the company, a new part of
Yeah,
Panopto?
yeah, it's actually really exciting. So one of the great things is, my company was acquired by Panopto, and we acquired Eli recently, which is a generative AI tool, and it allows you to easily takes text and turn it into video very quickly. So if you can type anything into a Word document or into a social media platform, you can make a video with an AI avatar. So that's been really interesting because many of us in product marketing and many other locations, we're all taking advantage of AI in different ways. And in this case, this is very focused on the video space and engagement and interactivity, which we'll probably talk about today, where you're trying to take, the natural video experience that we all experience on YouTube, or in platforms like Panopto, which is like, hey, I hit play and I passively watch a video. Well, what's really cool about Eli is it does include things like branching, quizzes, and buttons, so that now I can make little video learning experiences or personalized journeys that really connect with our customers or our prospects, right? So that's really exciting. And the other end, which I know a lot of people can relate to in terms of leveraging AI in your kind of workplace, is it does speed you up. So now it's taken
Hmm.
somebody like myself who can make videos, and I enjoy making videos, and I do that for my job. I can make videos faster than ever, right? And at a
Yep.
higher quality range, and it gets rid of lights, camera, and action, which we're doing right now. Live recording does require microphones, it requires lighting, high production value stuff, especially. So that's what it kind of replaces in a way. And I think it allows people like myself, product marketers, sales trainers, enablement people, learning and development people, instructional technology people, to create more content faster and get their message out, whatever that message is today.
Yeah, 100%. And so are you using video more in your own company's marketing?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. So the one thing with Panopto, I mean, video is part of our DNA. That's the genesis of this company. So I think, there's been different times and phases, if you look back, where we've been very strong and using it a ton, right? And then
Hmm.
sometimes we maybe aren't creating enough content. But absolutely, we use video across the board. And the one thing with me, as somebody who makes some of the videos, and I work with a team that makes them, is we are trying all kinds of different, types of video, right? Lengths, formats. What tools are we using? Are we using Adobe Premiere? Are we using Camtasia Studio? Are we using Ally, right? Because people eat with their eyes, right? So there's different things we can do when we use those different tools to make video, but also the words, and we'll talk about this with digital marketing and search engine optimization, are also really important in the videos.
Hmm.
One, for the viewer, just so they can see it, but the big part of the video that I see is like a one of these like cheat codes that we all kind of encounter in our day to day is, if we can create a lot of video content, we can use AI to caption that content, every single word spoken,
Yep.
right? And now I can also get summaries. I can get, the key points of that video. I can get, takeaways. And now I can leverage that. And I'm actually fast forwarded to the next phase, which is, okay, we're going to take that video. How do we wring as much value out of that video as possible, right? With those captions, which all those terms. And that's where we can get into the kind of the search space and say, okay, we now know what this video is about. We are creating all kinds of content, right? So now we have more content to go put out there on social and in search, and that becomes findable, right? And long tail
Yep.
content is really important. And I think what a video is really, really good at, and I've been doing this a long time, love long tail content because those are the best, usually qualified leads we get. Is video is a cheat code in my opinion, and there's a ton of great long tail content outcomes from it.
Yeah, that's fantastic to hear. So when you think about your content that you're putting out there, how are you measuring what content is driving success for you, and how do you define success?
Yeah, so that's a really good question. I mean, like I'm genuine. I will say this. Like I always look at two different types. I like what can we quantify, right? The quantifiable stuff that which is great with all these digital marketing systems and tools and technologies where we kind of know exactly what's performing and what's not performing right away. So I do like with especially digital marketing, obviously, right away. Is it video working? Is a landing page working? Is something working? And why? Usually you can figure that out, right? So quantifying it in terms of what we look at in terms of search engine optimization and everything. So I'm on the go-to-market team. So I'm always talking about not just search, but it's getting into like pipeline generation, right? So we are creating materials online generally, no matter what, whether it's an ad, a blog article, a video, to generate pipeline on the marketing team, right? We need to get our sellers qualified leads, right? And with this new acquisition, we have two different types of like audiences now, right? We have the Gen AI, Eli audience, and we have the traditional Panopto audience. So that's been very interesting. But pipeline generation is one of the biggest things that we are tracking every single day, every single quarter. We have goals and we are going after those. So our assets that we put out there in the field, have to kind of, generate pipeline, honestly. Close rates are really big too. So we're depending on where our leads are in the funnel, we're trying to create content that is actually helping things move down the funnel and improve close rates against competitors specifically because we are in a mature space. But close rates are really important. Obviously things like impressions and obviously click-through rate, revenue, typical goals. I mean, those are the big things that I am focusing on. But one of the biggest things is obviously like fundamental stuff, and I don't want to oversimplify, but website traffic, right? So we're creating all this content on all these different channels, right? Website is one of them, but the website is truly the hub of that wheel, right? There's all these spokes, right? Whether it's video, search engine optimization, email marketing, we can put content everywhere, right? That's not the hard part anymore. We actually have gotten pretty good here at creating content, which is usually the problem. It's making sure that content is really effective and working toward those outcomes that you're choosing or talking about. So I think the biggest one is really like, I think we're all trying to focus on is just the conversion rates, like really like conversion math of like, if you figure out conversion math and improve those conversion rates, like the big financial numbers, like revenue, profit, EBITDA, all those things that the C-level cares about deeply and your investors care about, those things change, right? If you can dramatically change conversion rates.
100%. And that's, there's no substitute for that. Like ultimately, if you, because like you said, like you've got the hub, the website is the hub, and that's where conversions happen. I mean, of course, in cases like with you guys, you have your sales team, and that's where the sales conversion happens. But the initial, like, hey, that MQL or SQL needs to go into the pipeline, that happens on your website. And so if you manage to improve conversion rate 10-20%, like you're basically leveraging everything else that you're doing, because all of a sudden all those things are converting better rather than just improving one channel, right?
Well, right. And also, I think too, like here, when you start to get in a bigger business, the business I created, Ensemble Video, was relatively small, very successful. But here, you get to start to be a bigger business, global, in 63 countries, massive scale, and conversion rate. You start to apply that to massive companies, and there's companies that are a lot bigger than Panopto out there. There's dramatic changes in the entire ecosystem of the business, and the profitability is there, and then the whole company culture changes, right? Because you're winning all the time, you're going to more conferences, so there's all these outcomes from like conversion rate optimization, which is really important, and it's also hard too. So we all know we need to do it, we all want to do it, but there's so much noise out there, there's so much great content out there, and there are so many choices out there. So getting that conversion is still, even after all these years, I know you've been doing this a long time, it's still hard. No matter what, you can create the best piece of content in the world. And I still sometimes wonder, like, you just got to find a way to convert more content, convert more traffic and engagement.
Yeah, definitely. And so, because I mean, like you said, we've both been in this industry for a long time, and you still put content out there, and you're like, why didn't that work? That should have worked. So if you think about how what are the tools that you're using to measure? Because of course there's sort of your standard web analytics. Is there any secret sauce there? Any tips that you have for people to be like, hey, like you should really be looking at tool X, Y, and Z, or is it more like the way that you use them in order to track what content is converting and what content you maybe should be optimizing?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I think ultimately in a dream, like we all have these dreams of maybe using one platform that's an all-in-one, that all your reports are truly in there. Now at Panopto, we have a great team and a person, Peyton, who does use Octopus to post everything, manage all our posting across all platforms, right? So like there are social media management tools out there that we all use that are all absolutely great, and I know there's analytics in there that we can utilize. But obviously, SEMrush is a big tool that I have been a big fan of for a long time. As somebody who started like do it yourself, SEO in the olden days, and Excel document tracking and coming up with my own formulas and things like that of what I thought was a competitive keyword versus a non-competitive keyword. Tools like SEMrush to me like is this all-in-one, can do everything that somebody like myself would really want to know about, our competitors, ourselves, the keywords that we should be looking at, backlink opportunities. I think those are two that I think are very useful here. And then I think generally, like, this is going to be a simplification, but I do believe that every single social media platform, whether you put YouTube, LinkedIn, Facebook, they are all advertising platforms, and their analytics and dashboards have become so powerful to me. I think the
Yep.
real challenge is just understanding where to look as fast as possible to get the outcome you want, like get the real information you want, because whether it's Google Analytics, YouTube, they are presenting so much great information in there. Salesforce reports, right? It's really
Yep.
like, can you get to the right stuff that is going to move the needle in the short term and then long-term strategies, right? So I think my big three that though I stare at are like in the SEO world, especially like SEMrush is a go-to. All the Google suite of site tools, analytics, all that fun stuff, pay-per-click, I've been using for a very long time. And then again, I think just I'm always impressed with things like YouTube can do, but like custom systems like Panopto, honestly, like we have great analytics tools, but just not for search engine optimization.
Are you integrating the different tools in a certain way? For example, like let's say SEMrush, you're looking at data in there. Are you using their APIs? Are you using any sort of like connections to link what you're finding in SEMrush to what you like, how you're driving pipeline?
Yeah, I would say that's a great question. I would say, if I'm being honest, I don't think we are probably leveraging it as much as we could. We're a relatively lean marketing team. I play many positions on the infield, so I think if we had the luxury, I would say a luxury here of having a little bit more time to do those things and set up some custom API workflows that could present our information in one dashboard. So I'm not bopping around to different states every
Yep.
day to go get information. You know what I mean? And doing a lot of traveling over all these SaaS products that we use. That
Yep.
is probably something of room for improvement, but I could see the benefit of that, because it is this whole idea where, we all have our sources of truth in our team and our marketing team and sales teams. And, one dashboard we could all look at would be pretty handy here.
Yeah, and that you could all agree on that this is the right information. I mean, that's the holy grail, right?
Yeah, but I just think like for me, especially if we get into tracking certain things like SEMrush, and there's other tools that are really good in that space that are really good at SEO tracking certain keywords you've been going after for a certain amount of weeks or months or whatever like that. So, sometimes some of those things are not possible and you do have to use separate systems. But, I think we recently got into Octopus. I don't know that we have enough time with it yet to say it's been wonderful or not wonderful or somewhere in between. But I think, I'm all for standardization of processes and operationalizing things. So, whether it's an API or something like Octopus, I think that's probably our realistic opportunity here, is just like truly leveraging everything a social media management tool can offer. Because just like as a SaaS vendor, I know people use 20% of our product. I
Mhm.
suspect, this is no shade on anybody, we are probably using a fraction of it and not the entire thing. So that would probably be what we really need to do here.
So when you think about going back to kind of the AI conversation, and particularly as it relates to, I suppose your search channels. I mean, whether it's paid or organic, how have you seen AI already affecting your search channel, and what do you think is going to happen in the near future?
Well, I honestly think AI is, it's changed things quite a bit. On the production side of all this stuff too. But I think like I'll just say one simple thing, and I know I don't want to oversimplify, but the AI summaries are changing search a little bit, in my opinion, right? It's like it's a new target for search engine optimization people. It's like, how does my content feed those summaries or show up in the summaries,
Yep.
right? So I think that that is one massive thing that's changed, right? But again, producing content has gotten easier. So I think how the search engines negotiate all of this newly created AI powered content is going to be really interesting. I think the search engines need to demonstrate value very, very quickly and stop showing so many ads on top. I'm going to be simple. Like, I think they need to demonstrate value like they did like 15 years ago very quickly, or that there's going to be a new solution to finding products, answers, knowledge, whatever it may be, right? So maybe I'm not answering, but I definitely have seen like AI changing the amount of content out there, and I don't know if it's always good. Doesn't mean it's better if there's more. You know what I
Oh,
mean?
no,
And it's more
100%.
generic, right? And then again, the summaries, you're sort of not. My eyes are stopping myself as somebody who thinks about a search engine results page way too much. Like I stop. Like those summaries are actually somewhat helpful. So I found myself doing them last night late, and it's like, okay, I don't even go down to the results, right? Like that summary gave me the answer, right? So that's changing it. And I also just think like it's not all search wars are not in Google anymore. Like, and I know
Yep.
you know this, and maybe our marketers know this, but I teach a class at Syracuse University, and every year I kind of talk to them what's different and new. And over the last couple of years, and again, we all know this, but many searches for younger people who will be flooding the professional space and buying SaaS products, they don't use Google ever, right? So they are searching in social media platforms, right? So I think that again, how does AI impact that? I'm not really sure yet, but I also think that's one of the biggest things I'm keeping my eye on in that world of like AI content creation's improved, right? Summaries improved, but this whole other idea that I'm thinking about Google, but I don't even know if that's where the battlefield's going to be in 10 years.
Yeah. Do you
And I could
think
be
that?
wrong. I don't know, but I'm telling you, they don't search in Google. My students who are all 20 years old, like they're
Yeah.
juniors.
No, and that's super insightful because that's a perspective that I think we don't see enough of in our world. Like that's really cool that you have that connection with kind of the next generation of marketers because I think as an older generation of marketers,
Right.
we were talking to ourselves and we're like, oh, but we're like, how are we doing this and how are we doing that? But well, what's going to happen in 10 years or so is going to be dependent on largely on the people that are currently that are
Right. I mean,
currently younger.
they're living the digital lifestyle right now. They
Yeah.
have no disposable income. They're not the decision makers, but they're going to be the decision makers. And we know how they consume content. We understand their digital lifestyle. They're like they react to engagement. Like they need to be engaged, right? It's like this whole engagement farming world that they live in. Even teaching them is like your engagement farming. You're not doing traditional teaching to them anymore. So like that's a different person and species that's coming. And I do think like if you and we know that like with the ability to buy things on social too, that has just completely changed the game there. Like that's one of the biggest changes. So it's not necessarily AI, but I have just seen the displacement of Google, which I never would ever imagine. And I'm
Hmm.
not saying it's displaced, but for my students to almost be like, I don't ever use that to search for anything because that's like one of my classes is all about search engine optimization for 3 hours. Like, where do you go find information? The answer
Uh-huh.
is Google, but for them, it's not anymore.
Are you changing, well, I guess your curriculum in a way, but are you also changing for when it comes to Panopto? Are you starting to think differently about like your channel mix?
Absolutely, 100%. So I think I can tell you in the last 2 or 3 months, one of my big things that I'm obsessing about is providing more searchable content that is video on different platforms and actually rich content that is more human, actually, though, too. So it's kind of combating the AI world. So, like, the one thing that AI is doing is like, wow, I can make all kinds of content in
Hmm.
Canva and ChatGPT and Gemini, whatever, blah, blah, blah. What's really starting to work, though, is like using AI for the words, right? Some of the SEO friendly stuff, all that really good stuff that you need for engagement, but still mixing it with the personal approach because people buy from people. I mean, I'm
Yeah.
an older sales and marketing guy here, whatever old is nowadays, but people still buy from people. And the best thing we can do is still, again, people look for answers through search. That's where search is going to provide some value here. But again, the one thing we're working on is humanizing our technology and building relationships. And we know people buy from people. So we're trying to still present people in this mix and not over operationalizing AI, you know what I mean? And trying to get the easy answer to generating pipeline. It doesn't work that way.
Yeah, and it sort of becomes the lowest common denominator, right? Like, if everybody can go into ChatGPT or other Gemini, whatever, and create the same article, from scratch in 30 seconds, well, then how are you distinguishing yourself?
Right. And
And
that's really the thing. That is truly it. I mean, and I think I talk to students about that. I talk to my daughter's a student in college. And, I think it's like, and even internally in our teams, if it was that easy, we would all
hmm
be doing it. Right. But so there
Yep.
are those nuances. There is that subject matter expertise. There's that passion, that human side of business that is really important to complement all this technical stuff that search engine
Yep.
optimization people do and digital marketers do. It's still that's the marketing mix now, I think, is like, it's taking that, like, still that human analog approach. Like, we cannot get away from that, right? Like, you have to think digitally, like Guy Kawasaki says, and act analog. I wish I made that up, but I still think like that's the big challenge for us is not over indexing on the hardcore tech, because that's going to keep changing. I still think the one thing that's the common denominator is people buy from people.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. That's gonna be the headline of this. So to kind of round this out, do you have tips? Who are your 2 or 3 favorite growth gurus, authors that you think people should follow and know about?
Okay, I'm gonna throw a curveball because I am more about old-fashioned fundamentals. So like I love anything like Guy Kawasaki. He's just somebody that makes me smile when I listen to him. So anything Guy Kawasaki, one of his old books that I think is one of my favorite, it's like little mantras in my mind, is Rules for Revolutionaries. It's I am more about I need like fuel and inspiration, and then I'll technically go figure things out. So somebody like Guy Kawasaki, he breaks rules, he colors outside the lines, and he knows how to grow companies, and he has done that successfully. So I like him. And then I also am an entrepreneur, so I love Peter Drucker. He's a fundamentally a good old fashioned old school business guy, but a lot of things that I've learned about business come from fundamental lessons like Peter Drucker and sources of opportunity. Like when companies like nowadays, like our companies all have to adapt, right? We have to think about, okay, there's AI, there's digital marketing, there's video, there's competitors, right? So how do you find the next source of opportunity of growth of your company? And there's a book called The 7 Sources of Opportunity with Peter Drucker. That is a book I read one time, maybe every couple of years, just to remember the fundamentals of like when I became an entrepreneur, how I devised like, that's where the puck's going. That's the opportunity here for our business, right? Or for this idea. And I think those 2 books I go back to over and over, just because they inspire me. But ultimately, I'm like anybody else. I'm just kind of consuming little, like, let's call it like, nuggets online through LinkedIn. And I don't think there's one source, to be honest with you. It's not a bad answer. It's just, I just eat up information online just like anybody else, and just try to learn a new trick every day and keep up.
Yeah. Oh, that's well said. Well said. Well, thank you so much, Scott. I really appreciate your time on this. One more thing. What's the best way for people to get in touch with you if they would like to reach out?
I think the best way to find me is on LinkedIn. You can go to Scott Nadzan and just search for Scott Nadzan on LinkedIn. And also you can always check out Panopto.com. It's a great solution for video management, sharing, and capture.
Awesome. Thanks, Scott. Thank you so much.
Thanks for having me.